Welcome to XO, where science meets heart at the kitchen table. I'm your host, Davey. In each episode, I narrate B-side tracks curated around a single theme: the why behind the ingredients, the swaps that make it better, and the stories that have been simmering for generations. No interviews, no guests, just me and you. This is EP6, the sugar con. Before we get into the kitchen, the grams, the labels, the crispy things you reach for when you're not even hungry, the cereal box you picked up out of comfort, and the 3-letter code that changed how I eat, I need to tell you what this episode is really about. It's not about sugar. It's about what they're counting on you not to count. Because once you do the math on that creamer label, you can't pour it the same way again. Once you understand why the chip bag is designed to be impossible to close, you stop blaming your willpower. Once you see the cereal aisle for what it actually is, a very well-lit lie, Saturday morning nostalgia starts to cost you something. And once you have 3 letters that answer every grocery store question you've ever stood frozen in front of, you don't need a pyramid or a plan. You just need the code. 4 tracks. 1 long con, let's call it. Track 1, the sugar con. Picture this. You're standing in your kitchen holding a 1-pound bag of sugar. You'd never eat this in a week, right? Wrong? You probably already did. 5 grams of sugar? That's nothing. That's exactly what they want you to think. Here's the thing about grams. They're designed to sound small. Food companies know most Americans don't think in metric. We think in teaspoons and pounds. So when that label says 4 grams of added sugar, it feels innocent. Plot twist. 454 grams equals 1 pound. Let's do some quick math on that innocent coffee creamer sitting in your fridge. My friend was pouring Natural Bliss into his morning coffee. It's only 4 grams of added sugar per serving, he said, reading the label. Here's what that actually means. 63 servings per bottle. 4 grams times 63 servings equals 252 grams. 252 grams equals more than half a pound of pure sugar. Most people use 2 tablespoons of creamer, not the 1 tablespoon serving size. At that rate, you're consuming half a pound of sugar every 2 weeks just from coffee creamer. Half a pound. From something that claims to have only 4 grams. Sugar doesn't just hide behind small numbers. It hides behind fancy names. The obvious ones: high fructose corn syrup, cane sugar, brown sugar. The sneaky ones: evaporated cane juice, brown rice syrup, fruit juice concentrate. The health halo ones: agave nectar, coconut nectar, date syrup. The sciencey ones: maltose, dextrose, glucose, fructose, anything ending in ose. Pro tip: if sugar appears in the first 3 ingredients, under any name, you're buying a sugar product that happens to contain other stuff. Sugar isn't just sold in the baking aisle. It's hiding in 74% of all packaged foods in the grocery store. Skip the baking aisle all you want, you're still filling your cart with sugar. It's in your pasta sauce, your healthy granola, your flavored yogurt, even your sandwich bread. The sugar industry doesn't need a dedicated aisle when they've colonized the entire store. Your daily sugar mountain. Here's what a normal day actually looks like. Breakfast: Greek yogurt with honey, 12 grams, plus granola, 8 grams, equals 20 grams. Snack: protein bar, 14 grams. Lunch: salad with balsamic dressing, 6 grams, plus flavored kombucha, 8 grams, equals 14 grams. Afternoon: latte with syrup, 25 grams. Dinner: pasta with marinara sauce, 12 grams. Total: 85 grams of added sugar. That's 21 teaspoons. Before dessert. Before that evening glass of wine, which your body processes like sugar too. The American Heart Association recommends 25 grams daily for women, 36 grams for men. Most of us hit that before lunch. This isn't just about looking good in jeans. This is about your kids inheriting a broken metabolism. 135 million Americans, 1 in 3, are pre-diabetic or diabetic. But here's the part that should keep you up at night. Kids as young as 10 are developing type 2 diabetes, a disease that used to only hit adults in their 50s. Every teaspoon of added sugar is a small assault on your insulin system. Do it enough times and your body stops responding. That's when the real damage starts. Heart disease, stroke, cancer, dementia. Translation: sugar isn't just making us fat, it's stealing years from our lives. You don't have to live in a world without sweetness. You just need to be smarter about it. Start reading differently. Look at total sugar grams per container, not per serving. That bag of lightly sweetened dried fruit? It might be 120 grams total, a quarter pound of sugar. Use better options. Raw honey, pure maple syrup, and dates come with minerals and fiber that slow absorption. Monk fruit and allulose don't spike blood sugar at all. Measure consciously. A teaspoon of real maple syrup in your coffee tastes better and does less damage than 3 servings of flavored creamer. The bottom line, food companies are playing a psychological game with your health. They're counting on you not doing the math. They're betting you'll see 4 grams and think, no big deal. They're literally banking on your confusion. But here's your power move. Start reading labels like a detective, not a customer. When you see through their tricks, everything changes. Because once you know how to spot a pound of sugar disguised as just a few grams, you can't unsee it. Your body, your energy, your mood, your future depends on winning this con game. The sugar con works in 2 directions. It hides in the numbers and it hides in the design. Because even when you're not eating sugar, the industry has another trick. One that doesn't show up on any label. It shows up in your hands at 10 p.m. when you're not even hungry. Track 2. The crunch. It was after dinner. I'd eaten well. Protein, vegetables, the whole responsible plate. I was full, and I was standing in the kitchen with my hand in a bag of tortilla chips anyway. I wasn't eating because I needed calories. I was eating because I needed the sound. That crunch, that loud shattering snap when a chip breaks between your teeth, does something to the brain that has nothing to do with hunger. The sound travels through your jawbone to your inner ear. It's a feedback loop. Your brain hears crispy and translates it as fresh, high energy, alive. It's a signal that goes back thousands of years to a time when crunch meant the food was safe to eat. A fresh leaf snaps. A rotten one is silent. The chip industry figured this out a long time ago. They didn't just engineer flavor, they engineered the sound. It's not a willpower problem, it's a design problem. The reason a bag of chips is almost impossible to put down is something the food industry calls the bliss point, the exact ratio of salt to fat that overrides your body's "I'm full" signal. They've spent decades tuning that ratio. It's not an accident that the bag is empty before you realize what happened. But here's the part that changed how I think about it. The bliss point only works in 2 dimensions, salt and fat. There's no acid. There's no bitterness. There's nothing that tells your palate to pause and reset. That's why salt and vinegar chips feel different from regular ones. The acid creates a stop. It interrupts the salt-fat loop and gives your tongue a moment of contrast. You still enjoy them, but you're less likely to eat the entire bag on autopilot because the acid keeps waking your palate up. The absence of acid in most chips isn't an oversight. It's a strategy. They want the loop to keep running. I don't think craving crunch is something to fight. I think it's something to respect. Your brain wants texture. It wants contrast. If everything you've eaten today has been soft, oatmeal, soup, pasta, smoothie, your brain is going to start looking for something loud. That's not weakness. That's your body asking for sensory variety. The problem isn't the craving. It's what we reach for when the craving hits. A bag of ultra-processed chips fried in seed oil is one answer. It's not the only one. The crunch I keep coming back to is roasted chickpeas. Drain a can, toss them in olive oil, and whatever spices you're in the mood for, cumin and smoked paprika, or chili and lime, or just salt, and roast them at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes until they're hard and crunchy. They shatter when you bite into them, same decibel level as a chip, but it's protein and fiber instead of empty starch and inflammatory oil. Smashed potatoes are another one. Boil baby potatoes until they're tender. Smash them flat with the bottom of a glass. Drizzle with olive oil and roast at 425 degrees Fahrenheit until the edges are dark and crispy. The flat shape maximizes surface area, which maximizes crunch. Every bite has that golden, shattering exterior with a soft center. Even vegetables can get there. Kale chips are the obvious one. Tear the leaves, toss in oil and salt, bake low and slow until they're paper thin and crispy. Brussels sprout leaves do the same thing. Cabbage wedges roasted at high heat get charred, crunchy edges. The mandolin is the secret weapon I wish I'd discovered earlier. Slice a sweet potato paper thin, toss the rounds in olive oil and salt, and bake at 300 degrees Fahrenheit until they curl and crisp. They're as close to a kettle chip as you can get without a deep fryer. And you know exactly what's in them because you made them. Sometimes you're going to eat the bag. I still do. The point isn't perfection. But when I do reach for chips now, I pair them with something that slows the loop. Hummus, guacamole, full-fat Greek yogurt with herbs. The protein and fat in the dip buffer the glucose spike from the chips and give your body something to actually work with. It doesn't cancel out the chips, but it changes the experience from mindless to intentional. You're eating chips with a dip instead of eating chips until the bag is empty. Small difference in action. Big difference in how you feel an hour later. The crunch is a need, a real one. Your brain is wired for it and it's not going away. The question isn't how to stop craving texture. It's how to give your body what it's actually asking for. That snap, that shatter, that loud, satisfying break, without handing the answer over to an industry that designed the bag to be impossible to close. Make the crunch yourself. You'll eat less of it and enjoy it more. When you understand the design, you can work around the chip bag. But there's a harder kind of engineered comfort, the kind that takes you back somewhere you actually want to go. And sometimes, it's not the industry you're up against. It's your own history. Track 3, Cereal Killers. I hadn't touched cereal in probably 6 or 8 years. Hadn't missed it. Hadn't thought about it. And then my body went through something serious. The kind of thing that rewires you from the inside out, including what you want to eat. And when I came out the other side, all I wanted was Honey Bunches of Oats. Not a green smoothie. Not eggs. Not anything I'd spent years building into my morning. Honey Bunches of Oats. I didn't fight it. I thought, your body just went through something. If that's what it wants, that's what it gets. So I bought a box, and then another, and another. For about 3 months, that was breakfast. I poured it into a bowl, added some milk, and sat down with it the way you sit down with an old friend you haven't seen in a while. No questions, no judgment. Just glad to be back. Then one morning I picked up the box and actually read it. I want to be clear. I knew. On some level, I knew. I'd spent years rethinking what I put in my body, and I'd made that choice deliberately, first on instinct, then through a process that got more rigorous over time. Cereal was never part of that picture because I'd already moved past it. But there's a thing that happens when you're recovering. You reach for comfort. You reach for familiar. And familiar, for a lot of us, means a box with something golden and crunchy inside that reminds you of Saturday mornings when the world was simpler and nothing hurt. The nutrition label on Honey Bunches of Oats doesn't try to hide what it is. It's right there. Added sugars, refined grains, processed oats. Not the worst thing in the cereal aisle, not by a long shot, but not what I'd been doing for the better part of a decade. I looked at it and I thought two things in quick succession. First, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And then almost immediately after, or it's a killer. That's when I put the box down. The cereal aisle is one of the best marketed sections in any grocery store. Boxes designed to look hearty, healthy, earned. Words like whole grain and heart healthy printed in fonts that sound like a doctor signed off. And underneath all of that, sugar, processed carbohydrates, and almost nothing that keeps your blood sugar stable past 9 a.m. Here's what happens when you eat most cereals. Your blood sugar spikes fast because the carbohydrates are already broken down. Your body floods with insulin to handle it. The spike drops. And by mid-morning, you're not just hungry, you're irritable, foggy, and reaching for whatever's closest. You don't connect it to breakfast because breakfast was an hour and a half ago. But that's exactly what happened. The hunger you feel at 10 a.m. isn't because you didn't eat enough. It's because what you ate burned out instead of burning steady. Protein, fat, and fiber take longer to break down. They don't spike you. They just keep going, quietly, without drama, for hours. Cereal, in most forms, does none of that. When I finally stepped back from the Honey Bunches of Oats, I didn't go looking for a punishment breakfast. I went looking for something that felt just as easy and just as satisfying. Because if the swap is harder than the original, you won't make it. Full-fat Greek yogurt with berries and a handful of nuts comes together in the same time it takes to pour from a box. The texture is different. The satisfaction lasts hours longer. Overnight oats made with chia seeds and almond milk sit in your fridge and ask nothing of you in the morning. You just open the jar. A smoothie with avocado, frozen berries, spinach, and protein powder takes 4 minutes and keeps you full until noon. None of these feel like sacrifice. They feel like breakfast. Good breakfast. The kind that doesn't leave you staring at the ceiling of your office at 10:15, wondering why you're already tired. The swap isn't about giving something up. It's about understanding what the original was actually doing to you and deciding you don't want that anymore. I don't keep cereal in the house now. I'm back to where I was before the detour. Mornings that start slower, on purpose, with things that actually work. But I don't regret the 3 months. Some of it was comfort doing what comfort is supposed to do. And the morning I read the label and put the box down, that wasn't a failure. That was the system working. You learn, you adjust, you move forward. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, unless it's quietly keeping you from being as strong as you could be. That's the difference worth knowing. Reading the label is how you catch the con, but label reading only works if you know what you're looking for, and most systems for knowing that are too complicated to actually carry with you. 3 pages of rules you check once and forget. Color-coded charts you leave on the counter. What I needed wasn't another framework, it was a code. Track 4, gap code. The best code I ever wrote had 3 letters and no numbers. I've always done this thing with names. If I meet a couple, say Julia and Paul, I flip them. P&J, peanut butter and jelly. Locked, gone forever into the part of my brain that doesn't lose things. At the grocery store, I do the same thing. Everything I need, I take the first letter and build a sentence. Celery, blueberries, rice, avocado. Cats build rocket ships. I'll forget the list in my pocket before I forget that sentence. I didn't invent this. I just use it. The planets do it. My very educated mother just served us nachos. Generations of kids locked in Mercury through Neptune without ever writing it down. The code works because your brain was built for patterns, not lists. So when I started trying to eat differently, really differently in a way that was going to last, I knew one thing for certain. It had to be a code, not a pyramid, not a color system, not 17 rules I'd have to check against every time I picked something up at the store. 3 letters, 1 word, something I could carry in my head the way I carry P and J in cats build rocket ships. That's where GAP came from. I wasn't trying to build a framework. I was trying to feel better. There was a stretch, a long one, where I was eating what most people would call a reasonable diet and still feeling foggy. Not sick, not dramatic, just not sharp. The kind of feeling where you get to the afternoon and wonder where the morning went, where you eat lunch and feel heavier instead of fueled, where something is clearly off, but nothing on any label explains it. So I started paying attention, not to calories, not to macros, to what happened after I ate, how I felt an hour later, 2 hours later, what made the fog lift and what made it settle back in. And 3 things kept showing up. Gut. Every time I ate something that worked against my digestion, processed, artificial, hard to break down, the fog got worse. Every time I ate something that supported it, things cleared. Inflammation. The foods that made me feel heavy and slow and dull were the same ones that drive chronic inflammation. Refined oils, added sugar, processed grains. The foods that kept me clear were the ones that worked against that pattern. Polyphenols, the plant compounds in things like berries, olive oil, dark chocolate, herbs, turmeric. Every time these showed up in what I was eating, I felt the difference. They weren't a trend. They were doing something, 3 things, every time. So I gave them a word. GAP is not an accident. Gut health, anti-inflammatory, polyphenol-rich. 3 questions you can ask about anything you're about to eat. Standing in a grocery aisle, scanning a restaurant menu, staring into your own refrigerator at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday. Is it good for my gut? Does it fight inflammation? Is it rich in polyphenols? If the answer is yes across all 3, you're doing it right. If it fails all 3, if it's processed, inflammatory, and stripped of anything the plant originally put into it, you know what you're holding before you even get to the nutrition label. The beautiful thing about these 3 pillars is that they're not fighting each other. They're feeding each other. The foods that support your gut tend to be anti-inflammatory. The foods that calm inflammation tend to be polyphenol-rich. The polyphenols tend to strengthen the gut lining that lets your body absorb more of everything good. It's a loop. And once you understand the loop, the code makes the decision for you. My very educated mother helped me remember the planets. GAP helps me remember how to eat. Same mechanism, different stakes. I use it every single time I'm at the store. I use it when I'm at a restaurant and I've never seen the menu before. I use it when I'm in someone else's kitchen trying to figure out what to put together from what's there. It's not about perfection. I'm not running a score in my head. I'm not disqualifying every meal that doesn't check all 3 boxes. That's not the point. The point is pattern recognition. The more you ask the 3 questions, the more the answers become automatic. You stop having to think about it because the code is already running. Cats build rocket ships. P and J. My very educated mother. GAP. 3 letters. Everything I needed to remember, and nothing I needed to write down. That's EP6, the Sugar Con. 4 tracks, 1 long con, and 3 letters to beat it. They designed the label to hide behind small numbers. They designed the bag to keep the loop running. They designed the box to send you back to Saturday mornings, so you wouldn't ask what was in it. And the whole time, 3 questions were sitting there waiting. Is it good for your gut? Does it fight inflammation? Is it polyphenol rich? The con only works if you don't do the math. Now you have the math, now you have the code. Here's to health, happiness, and a remix that's uniquely yours. Thank you for spending time with me. The Remixology app is where the remix continues. Recipes, swaps, music, and a little something new every Friday. You can download the Remixology app on the Apple App Store or Google Play today.